Kellen Moore gets tossed by the Dallas Cowboys and picked up by the Chargers the very next day. Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl. It is going down. Hall of Fame baseball talk. MLB athlete cover this year. So much to talk about, guys. So stay tuned.
Been lit, boy. Everything goes.
We now return you to regular programming.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to your favorite podcast, the Everything Goes Podcast, with your host, TAK, where we tried teaching Ace how to whistle right before this podcast, and it just slobber fest everywhere. Hey, congratulations to the Eagles and the Chiefs, where it technically right now is the Eagles versus Mahomes' wife, because nobody wants to see her celebrate on Instagram anymore with that high-pitched voice she has. I'm just kidding, all jokes aside. Congratulations to both teams. Hey, Cowboys cut Kellen Moore. They had to do something this offseason, even though their offense during the season has been one of the best. Day later, he signed to the Chargers, so we will definitely dive into that. Some CP3 to the Lakers trade ideas are floating around right now. And the Sixers moving in first in the power rankings as Embiid drops 47 points against the Joker. In my opinion, showing that he was the real MVP last year, and gets snubbed as an all-star starter. Lots to talk about. The cover athlete was released for MLB The Show 2023. We'll get into that. Guys, welcome back. Once a week, Mondays, here we go. We're back in action.
I do not know who's on the cover, so this is going to actually be a nice little teaser for me.
Oh, it's going to
I don't know his name. I just know Ty was talking to me about it. It's a Marlin. I don't know who it is, though.
A Marlin. Oh, wow. That's so odd.
It's very
I shouldn't say it's odd, but that's kind of crazy.
Are we?
Should we dive into baseball first before we recap? Or I think that's what Chris was.
We can.
Yeah. Who's on the show? Who's on the cover?
So the cover athlete this year is Jazz Chisolm Jr., second baseman to the Marlins. Very swaggerish guy. You know, it's going to draw a lot of attention to the cover. They're moving in the center field this year. Nothing towards the guy. I was discussing this with my brother and some buddies. I'm a big fan of Jazz. Young stud in this league. He's going to be good, in my opinion. I just think that they could have done someone who had a more interesting year. I mean, I think he was injured for a decent portion of the year last year too. I mean, you could have put Paul Goldschmidt on there. A lot of us talked about they could have put Yachty and Albert Pujols on there from the Cardinals because they retired together. You know, they could have done a couple of things. And again, this is nothing towards Jazz. I think that the cover is still going to look amazing. I just hope it doesn't bring any hate towards the guy, because they're going to be like, what the heck, a Marlin? Like, all these guys that you could have done. You know what I mean? They could have done a lot of options. Trey Turner, like they could have done a lot of guys this year, but
I like that they went small market. Honestly, that's rare. It seems like
it's cool for the Marlins, right? I mean, the cover is still cool. I mean, I've seen the cover, like I'm a fan of it. I just think I'm also a fan of, hey, like you could have done something a little bit more creative.
Yeah, the Marlins are going to do something this year. You watch. It's the only organization where all the upper brass is all women. Women know how to run stuff. You know,
interesting.
So they have no ties to the game other than their managerial skills and their CEO skills, and they're going to come and they're going to flip that organization around, and they're going to be solid. You watch. Okay. Women run the world, man.
So
who run the world?
2006,
girls?
David Ortiz, big market, Red Sox. David
I like this. I like this. David Wright, 07. Can we just say David Wright? He could have been so good. Could have been so good.
That was so it said Wright made his first All-Star game appearance in 2006. So the next year they gave him interest.
I said Aaron Judge, but I forgot he was already on the cover.
Was he really?
Yeah, go through the list again. I'm intrigued to go through the history here.
Oh crap, I don't have all of them. It goes up to 20. Okay, 08, Ryan Howard. 09, Dustin Pedroia. 10 was Joe Mauer. So I guess small market Twins. Oh crap. 2016, the show was Josh Donaldson. It's kind of skipping around on me.
Here, I think I got it. Okay. Yeah. So you said 010 was Joe Mauer. Gosh, Joe Mauer, what a guy. He had great hair. I remember he was always on the Head and Shoulders commercials, and then he just shaved it off one day. MLB The Show 10. Oh, I just said that, Joe Mauer. Oh crap! It did the same thing for you, Ace. Actually, it jumped around. So we're left guessing here.
No, is the baseball cover like a jinx, like the Madden cover?
We talked about that, but then a lot of these guys actually played very well the next year.
Yeah, I feel like the Marlins could be that good sleeper team anyways. That's a tough division, though. The NL East, are you kidding me? That's got to be the toughest division in baseball.
Well, we know the Mets aren't for real. They're always they jump out the box fast and they blow it late. The Phillies, I mean, if the Phillies improve their bullpen, I think they'll be all right.
Here, I'll give you some of these that stand out that are pretty cool because McCutchen is going back to the Pirates. He was on the 2013 one. 2014 was Miguel Cabrera. You have 2006. What?
McCutchen's going back to the Pirates?
He's not back to the Pirates. How cool is
1 year
they
deal?
mix it up.
1 year deal?
Yeah.
Wow.
2016 was
Wow.
Donaldson because he had that huge MVP year. 2017 was the Ken Griffey Jr. one.
Best player I ever saw.
Judge was on the 18. And then I don't know who was on 19, but 20 was Javier Baez. 21 was Tatis Jr. And now 22 was Shohei Ohtani, who had a pretty good year last year. So I would say that curse is pretty much. No.
Yeah, I gotta tell you though, of all those names, man, Griffey was probably the smoothest son of a gun that I've ever seen at the plate, man. That guy,
well, that's what everyone would say for the
he
longest
would,
time.
He would hit a home run. He knew it was gone, and his walk was just smooth, man. He was just a smooth cat. He's the first one that really started jumping up the wall and catching balls in the outfield and stealing home runs. That guy was just one of a kind, man.
I wanted to model my game after him, but I think I got 25% of it, maybe. I'd be lucky to get to.
I feel like you guys were robbed. You guys were robbed of football. NFL, you can't. Let's face it, they're going to touch football now for the Pro Bowl. So and what's going to happen with the NFL as far as quarterbacks go? Let's face it, they're going to put no pads on them. You guys were missed out on solid hitting in the NFL, and you guys missed out on baseball when baseball was really baseball, when your coaches actually did small ball. You stole bases. You had Ricky Henderson. You had guys like Wade Boggs and Kirby Puckett and Tony Gwynn, guys who hit over 300 and put the ball anywhere. Baseball was amazing back then.
I am intrigued
it was like
that the
a
shift
chess
is gone
game
this year, though. I mean, I'm very intrigued how the shift's going to look this year with the shift gone.
Yes, that's a welcome too. I think
that's going to benefit guys like Joey Gallo. It's going to benefit guys. But you didn't hear of MLB messing with baseballs and guys hitting 60, 70 home runs until we got to the steroid era.
I think the baseballs were going on for maybe, I don't know. I think it's more discussion as analytics get bigger too. This kind of leads into that Hall of Fame talk though, too, in a way.
Wait, hold on. I wanted to ask real quick. Okay. Would you guys rather, if you played professional baseball, would you rather have the opportunity to be a cover athlete for MLB The Show or be ranked a 90 overall every single game that came out?
Or be in the nude ESPN magazine?
Oh, that's a good one too. That's a good one too.
I would probably wait.
Do they have a dad bod section on that magazine?
I'd be on the cover. I'd want to be on the cover of the game rather than have a rating. I don't really.
Let me ask you something. If you're on the cover, if you're on the cover of the game, do you get like revenue sharing? Do you get like money?
I would assume
for every copy sold, do you get some kind of like fundage towards you?
Or I bet it's a one time. It's like, hey, we're gonna put you on the cover. We'll give you this for your likeness. For who you are as I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
I would think I'm just at least happy to be on the cover of something.
Yeah, exactly. That would never happen.
But don't you think there's pressure on you though? Because like you're on the cover, and then what if you go out and bat 190 the next year?
Yeah.
Well, like Ty said in the beginning, he could get like think of the hate that could come his way because of that. It's like, oh, this dude's not deserving of it. That's so easy to.
Yeah, like I feel like you could definitely receive some backlash from that.
I think if I was on the cover, I'd fake an injury. I'd fake it and sit out half the season so there's no pressure on me.
Come on, baseball players don't believe in superstition.
Come on, you gotta step up to the plate.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Scott Rolen, who was the only one who got the 75 plus votes to get into the Hall of Fame. Rolen ended up with 76.3. The next closest one was Helton. Helton, he should be in, man. He played with one team. He played with the Rockies this whole career, and he was at 72.2. Nobody else went over the threshold of 70. So people like Chipper Jones, Sheffield, Beltran, Kent, A-Rod, Manny Rodriguez, Pettit, Abreu, Rollins, well, they're all going to have to wait until the next go around.
How many guys are inducted in the Hall of Fame a year?
It
could be
varies. I
anyone.
mean, it varies. I mean, this year there's only two. It's Rolen and Fred McGriff.
Had only two
Um,
guys get in out of all those guys.
I don't like the whole process of this thing, man.
Yeah,
How could
same.
you give the power to people who are sports writers who never played the game, probably, and you're giving that so much power to them? I think you should give power to the people, man. Let the people vote, because I honestly believe
Yeah.
Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what he did as a coach, as a player. He's one of the best players around. His name was Charlie Hustle for a reason, and the guy was an amazing player. If you bet on the game, screw it. Who cares? You don't get in as a coach. But to ban him,
Well, he's
were they
got
waiting
this-
for him to die? I mean, that's ridiculous.
He could get in
Yeah.
the same way that McGriff got in, where it was like a committee of 16 members that they base it off the players' contributions to the game, is how McGriff got in. So imagine like if Rose gets in, then Bonds and Clemens and McGuire and all these steroid users, or the opposite, if they get in, maybe that's more reason for Rose to get in. Of those guys on the list, who are there guys that you think are more deserving than Scott Rolen?
I just think
like-
I just think for how big of a list that is, to only have two guys get inducted is a little ridiculous in my opinion. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so tough to talk about people like A-Rod and Bonds, guys that I still think played the game very well. Obviously, there's a lot of players that will say I don't play the game that way. Like obviously they
Yeah.
did something. They got caught. At least A-Rod did. I don't know about Bonds. I don't think Bonds did, but gosh, they were still great athletes. I mean, A-Rod as a Yankee was still a great hitter.
I was
It's like
watching.
those guys. Oh, they
I
made
was
more
watching-
contributions than Rolen. No offense.
Yeah. I was watching a throwback World Series the other day that was on TV on MLB.com. And I think it was like, I don't remember the team. It was the Mets and somebody. And like these guys didn't use batting gloves. They didn't have pine tar. They didn't have all these things. And these guys went out and played the game the way it should be played. I mean, how can you put any of these guys today in the Hall of Fame? I mean, just you don't know what they're using. I mean, you don't know, because let's face it, these guys today are huge, man. And I don't care.
Yeah.
You can't find all the PEDs out there. You can't find all the new steroids. that are
Training
out there.
programs are different though
But-
too.
But the thing is, too, is like you're not allowing pitchers to use tack to help them in the cold when you start in April and it's freezing outside. You're allowing these guys to use batting gloves with stick 'em on it. You're allowing these guys to use all
Yeah.
this stuff that's batting. They need to fix the process. They really do, man. They really do. Because like Andy Pettit, he used PEDs, but you know what? He used them to heal himself. It didn't help him. He didn't throw 105 miles an hour from
That's
taking
what Conor
PEDs.
McGregor's doing right now. That's why he's not in the UFC. He's helping
Yeah.
heal his ankle.
Mm.
But I'm just saying, Andy
Interesting.
Pettit was one of the best pitchers in the postseason of
Yeah.
all time, and you're gonna ban him and give him like 15 to 20 votes because he used PEDs and admitted to it? It's because he wanted to
No.
heal his shoulder.
We should ask that to Casey when we had him on. Like, because I would imagine that hitters would prefer that a pitcher has some sort of substance too when it's cold out, or when it's
I would think
no
more
matter
control.
what, just so for more control. It's like I don't want a guy that doesn't know what the heck he's doing. If
Shoot.
he's naturally wild anyways, and you give him, I would. That's a great question to ask Casey, probably.
And not to mention the MLB's against pitchers because you keep raising and lowering the freaking stitches on the ball. So I mean,
Yeah, yep.
what do you're not giving them any kind of support.
Yeah, and then
So
they
it's-
come out
it's
and say
crazy.
there's two different balls, in both the regular season, plus God knows what they did in the postseason. I think home run numbers were down until like the championship, whatever the case. But congrats to Scott Rolen and Fred McGriff.
Scott Rowland was a great player. I mean, he really
I don't
was.
know
I'm
who
not
either of
too
those
much
guys
of a,
are. I'll be
he-
honest.
He played for the Phillies and then the Cardinals, but the Scott Rowland was one of the true amazing players for the Phillies. And
Third
another
baseman.
guy that you're going to see in too is you're going to see Chase Utley eventually get in. Chase Utley was an amazing player for the Phillies.
Great
So I'm not a
player.
big Phillies fan.
Who's on
No,
that
but
list? Can
no.
you say that list again to the guys that didn't get in?
If if Helton or Chipper don't get in before Utley, that would be odd. Or who's the other second baseman, Jeff Kent, that didn't get in? I think he's pretty good.
Okay, name the guys again that are on that list that didn't get into the Hall of Fame this year.
Todd Helton had 72.2 votes. Wagner had 68. Chipper Jones had 58. Gary Sheffield had 55. Carlos Beltran had 46.5. Jeff Kent had 46.5. A-Rod had 35. Manny, which I'm assuming is Manny Rodriguez, had 33.2.
Not Manny Ramirez.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Pettit, it just says Manny. Pettit only had 17 votes. Abreu only had 15. Rollins only had
Rollins.
12.9. Burley, who was a great pitcher for the White Sox for how long? He only had 10 votes. K-Rod, who was an amazing pitcher for Seattle? I mean, he only got 10 votes.
Isn't it? Here's a sad thing. Like, no offense to those guys, but I don't think they're going to get in. So it's almost disrespectful that they put they put everyone on the ballot pretty much that's played.
How does Chipper Jones not get in?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
is this his first year being eligible?
No, he's been retired for a while. I mean, I don't know.
How the heck has Chipper Jones not gotten in? I mean, as long as I can remember, Chipper Jones, man, watching him, a great contact hitter, a great third baseman for the Braves. I mean,
that's like Scott Rolen. Scott Rolen, you're literally describing Scott Rolen too. They're both great defensively, I thought.
I want to know the process of like what goes down. Like how are they picking these guys? Are they basing it? Is it fan favorites that they secretly admire on the inside of them? You know, is it stats that they're looking at?
Baseball Writers of America are the ones that control it all. So, I mean, we'd have to get Lavelle back on again.
He had a vote. I think he has a vote, honestly.
He's not the president no more, but I'm sure he still has a vote because I think once you get a vote, you always have a vote.
Yeah, so
it should be like retired players.
Yeah, that gets into a whole I would not argue with that either.
Like you think about like in the leagues that I played in, like when you vote for MVPs of the leagues, like typically it's the coaches and some of the players. Like you say, hey, like who would you pick in the league this year that you faced? I don't know. I'm no expert. I don't know. Or even coaches have the coaches of that generation vote.
It should be like a group, maybe 3, because like isn't in the MLB or the NBA too? They have player vote in, like players and the coaches get to vote in some of those last. I think it's MLB. Just do that for all of it. Honestly,
I just think you're giving the power to a sports writer who might not necessarily like the organization where that player is coming from, and that's going to sway his vote. And I don't think it's right. But
how many people vote?
I don't know how many writers
it's like
there
100
are.
And oh my god, I thought it was like 175.
But
it's interesting.
Spring training is getting ready to start. The Baltimore Orioles put out a tweet today where their trucks are loaded and headed towards Florida. So Ty, everything is coming your way in Arizona.
So pumped, man.
And
4 minutes away from
it's going to be really, really interesting. There's video of Shohei already out taking swings in the batting cages, and you know people are finishing up deals. The Rays just gave Yandy Diaz. He got a 3-year, $24 million extension.
Good player.
Yeah. And then the Mets extended Jeff McNeil 4 years, $50 million. But interesting thing for the Yankees. And then Ace, if you have anything on the Twins, the Yankees, you know, they have 2 key positions that they're going to be battling in spring training, and it's going to be the shortstop and left field. And left field right now, it's up for grabs. There's Oswald Cabrera, Estevan Florio, and Aaron Hicks who will be competing for that position. Aaron Hicks still has 3 years left on his deal, and I think he just, for some reason, can do no wrong in the Yankees' eyes. I don't think he belongs to be in the Yankee anymore. I think of all the players that are on this list, I think Cabrera is our best option. I think, you know, what he did last year and what he did as far as throwing guys out and defensively, what he did, I think he's going to be a great fit. But it's going to come down to those 3 players. Hicks is most likely going to be your starter in left field because of his contract situation. You know, you're not going to pay a guy money to sit on the bench.
I feel like baseball is different than football, though, when it comes to that. I could be wrong.
I mean, Hicks is injured every year, so that's why you usually don't see him out there. And usually when he starts batting bad is when he starts getting injured. So, you know, he's known for that. He hasn't played a full year. I don't think he's played more than 100 games, but once or twice in his career. And it's the same thing. It's another bad contract, another bad player that they need to let go. Another key position is shortstop. It's also going to be interesting because we have Oswaldo Pereza, who played 18 games last year, batted .308, had a .404 OBP, 1 home run, 2 RBIs, and a 15.8 strikeout rate. It was a small sample size. He's competing with IKF and one of my favorites, Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe played in 2 different levels last year, and the guy had over 127 hits, 235 total bases, 35 doubles, which is huge, 21 home runs, and the kicker is he had 50 stolen bases in the minors. That's huge. That's what we need.
But IKF at third, get rid of Donaldson.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is Donaldson, they're still trying to get rid of Donaldson. No one wants to take him. I think if they do get rid of him, IKF will be your third baseman. He got a gold glove with the Texas Rangers. And DJ LeMay, who's 34 years old, is coming back. He's 100% healthy. He's another guy that you can put him in multiple positions. You can put him at first base. You can put him at second base. You can put him anywhere you need to put him. And I just think the Yankees have good pieces that just got to get rid of these bad contracts. You got to get rid of Hicks. You got to get rid of freaking Donaldson, and you got to move on from these guys. Another thing is the Yankees avoided arbitration. Gleyber Torres it was the only one left. He agreed on a deal for $9.7 million. He was asking for $10.2 million, but before arbitration, they agreed on a deal of $9.7 million. The Yankees have not ever gone to an arbitration hearing since 2017. They usually get these deals done beforehand, which is good.
Is he a free agent next year? Is that why?
Look, I don't understand baseball contracts, man. I really don't. Baseball contracts are so weird because they go through this arbitration thing, and I think
that
the
Rule
Yankees
5 draft. There's a lot of weird things about baseball.
I think the Yankees own the rights to him still from when he got him from the Cubs. He's still under a rookie deal. And I think they own the rights to him until 2020, the end of 2023. That's why they go to arbitration to negotiate these deals. Judge is another one. The Yankees held on to Judge for the longest time with the contracts they had. I mean, this is his first big contract. This is his first contract that he got that was huge, and he's 31 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what I have for baseball.
All right, Twins side. Excuse me. First base is definitely going to be a kind of a platoon. I think so Alex Kirilloff, who was playing left field for the Twins last year, got hurt midway through, didn't really come back at all, I think, the rest of the year. He's going to play at first. Jose Miranda, who's our third baseman, is also going to be playing over there. I'm glad we re-signed Correa, because losing Correa and Arise probably would have definitely made it easier for me to root for the Cleveland Guardians. I still might, just because maybe they'll bring some good juju to the Twins and I can just be like, oh, sweet, cool, I made this happen. Otherwise, Byron Buxton's having some social media issues and probably should just stay off it for a while, because he didn't show up to Twins Fest, which is kind of a shame anyways, when there's really not too many other players to root for on the team now that they got rid of Arise. Outside of Correa, Miranda's kind of a new presence there. Polanco, Kepler, and frickin' Buxton are kind of our everyday players that most people know on the team. And the fact that he didn't show up and was, complaining to a fan that tweeted about stuff is shameful. It's just stupid that you're bigger than to overreact. Who cares if somebody calls you out?
Yeah, you're
the fact that he agreed, the team has already given him a friendly deal anyways, because he doesn't play a full season. So it's frustrating.
The thing that cracks me up with social media is if you're big enough to put a comment on social media, you better be big enough to listen to the responses that come with that. You don't have to like them. You don't have to answer them. For heck, you don't have to even reply to them. But the thing is if you're going to put stuff out there for the world to see, then you better like the backlash that's going to come with it.
Yeah, it's just not a good look for him, especially not attending an autograph seeking. A lot of kids show up to these events, obviously, and that's how you build freaking fandom. So
look, I tweet every Sunday. I go crazy on Twitter. And you know what? I've been getting a lot of responses with it. And you know what? I don't have to agree with the people that respond to me. A lot of times I just like them. And I don't have to agree with them. Everyone has their own opinions. When I say fire everybody, well, basically the Cowboys just did. They fired 7 of their coaches. So, but the thing is it's just my opinion in the heat of the moment, and people don't like it. They're going to comment on it, but I just heart their stuff and move on. I'm not going to hold a grudge against somebody. You know what? And these freaking players annoy me too when they're in negotiations. What's the first thing to do? Is Ty and I talked about this on the way home. Trayvon Diggs. What did he do? He took the Dallas Cowboys off his Instagram page because he's negotiating his contract.
What's they going to do?
Yeah. You know what I would say? I don't follow your fucking Instagram, so I don't care if you don't follow us or not. You know what I mean? This is a $9 billion industry here, an organization that's worth more money than you can even think of. And if you don't want to be here, go follow somebody else on Instagram.
It's come to my
Trayvon, who can't catch an interception that hits him in the chest.
Trayvon.
Whatever. These freaking players are soft, man. I'm so sick of this crap, man. Just play your freaking contract
that
out.
You went down there and you unfollowed us on some Instagram down there. My thing is a team that drafts you and has been so supportive of you. As soon as your contract's up, I'm gonna follow them now. Like,
It's FU.
how is that like a big
Yeah,
like
the
I'm
Cowboys-
really gonna stick it to them. I'm gonna unfollow them on Instagram and Twitter.
Because the problem is this sport is no longer about what have you done on the field to produce. It's about the name on the freaking jersey. It's like Saquon Barkley turned down a $12 million a year contract with the Giants. Why?
He went
You think
16
you're
million,
gonna?
I think.
But that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Just take the freaking money and run. Because you know what? You might not get offered more than that now.
Correct. Yeah.
It's just where's I mean, I'm not saying you have to be loyal.
Or he'll sign somewhere else for 1 million more. Like it's like really that was the difference maker.
Well, if I was a
that's like
GM, I'll tell you
Beckham,
right
too.
now. If I was a GM, I would be the most hated GM in organization history because you know what? I'd be like, look, you got 5 years on your deal. Don't come to me at year 3 and say you want a freaking extension. I want to see those last 2 years played out. Then we'll talk. Don't come see me and knock on my door for another 2 years. Bye. That's how I would be. This is ridiculous what they're doing.
Here's the thing, though. On the same end, GMs come to the player and say, "Hey, can you drop a couple this year? We'll backdate it for." Or no, maybe it works out where they write it into a sign. Somehow, remember they ask players to take pay cuts, but inevitably they still get paid. It's kind of like a weird.
Or sometimes like when there's 2 years left in their contract, they'll be like, hey, we want to extend you now because it helps them with the salary cap. And also you're locking them in and kind of pushing that whole thing down the road.
Yeah, but the difference between this nowadays than where it was back in the day, these guys are making $66 million guaranteed as soon as they put the pen to the paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I'm as a GM saying, hey, Dak, by the way, because Dak's one of those guys, I just gave you a 4-year, $160 million contract, $66 million guaranteed. How about we extend you out 4 years and push some of this money out so we can sign players to help you and save $22 million? You know, if Dak turns to the organization and goes, F you, then you know what kind of player he is, you know? But
that's true.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what's going on in these sports.
I like at the end of the day, I think it like NFL, yeah, they're not guaranteed contracts, but it seems like you can at least negotiate a little bit easier than some of the other sports. I don't know.
Look, I understand inflation went up 7%, eggs cost $10 a dozen, and all those things that are going on in the world. But I mean, if you make $10 million a year and you can't live on that, then that's a you problem. You don't need a house with 12 bathrooms and 15 cars and 15 cars in your driveway and a 2-car garage. You know, that's a you problem.
If people can do it with 40 grand a year, you could do it with 10 million.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it is what it is. That's my random rant.
Well, do you guys want to move on from baseball and talk a little bit about the NFL, or do you got any more baseball talk?
No, I'm just excited. I think pitchers and catchers report in like 2 weeks. Some teams are already jumping into it. The Yankees are usually one of the teams that have players down there early hitting and stuff like that. So the Yankees also signed another hitting coach to help them out, and we'll see what happens. I mean, as of right now, Houston is still the best team in baseball, and we'll see what their young pitching staff that they have and the moves that they made. Is it enough to get knocked off? Can the Yankees step up and knock them off? I mean, the Twins. We won't even talk about the Twins. They got a long way to go yet. But yeah, we'll start getting
our 6-man rotation. Watch out!
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of 6-man rotations. I really am. I'm a big fan of that.
I don't mind.
Give them extra rest.
We don't have the bullpen to support.
Yeah.
But hey, well, hell, we'll talk about it. Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. First time ever that two brothers, starting player brothers, are playing against each other in the Kelce brothers. I feel like we called the Eagles going all the way for a long time. Obviously, I didn't want to see it happen, but now, as much as I dislike the Eagles fans, I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes and his wife win.
Speaking of eggs, real quick, and you're talking about Eagles fans.
Why not?
Did you see the idiot Eagles fans that were throwing eggs at 49ers fans walking into the stadium? I mean, I even tweeted this out. I mean, this is why the Eagles have a bad reputation. I mean, you can't even go to a game and enjoy a game. I mean, Bose, what's his name? Nick Bose's brother. His brother was in line to get into the VIP area, and people are hackling the crap out of him, saying, when are the Chargers playing? And of course, it makes Joey Bosa look bad because he responds to them and curses them out. And, it's ridiculous.
Calling. I mean, yeah, the name calling can get too far, but when you're actually throwing eggs and other crap at them,
Yeah.
beer, God knows what else. It's like, come on. I heard they threw, did you tell us they threw batteries at playoff games once?
They threw batteries at games,
Yeah,
right? They
like,
threw
what the-
snowballs at Santa Claus, for Christ's sake. I mean, and the thing that's sad is they have young kids, and there's a Twitter video out of this. Young kids, like maybe like 10, maybe 9, reaching to shake 49ers players' hands, and when they go to shake their hand, he takes his hand back and turns it around and does this to them. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is not something you know on your own. That's something you're taught by idiotic fans and idiotic parents. I mean, shit, if I was a 49ers fan, I would have caught them eggs, put in my pocket, because eggs are expensive.
That's a tough, I mean, honestly, you're describing what we already kind of knew was going to be a tough environment anyways. The players kind of can like ignore that crap, but I mean, when you picture the injury that Purdy suffered, that was almost just right away kind of deflating for that whole Niners
I was
team.
gonna say, I feel like this game was very exciting, and then 6 offensive snaps into the game for the 49ers. Brock Purdy tears his UCL and is out 6 months unless he doesn't get the surgery and there's a second option. But after I saw him go out, I was like, that's the easiest.
It's a game.
Eagles, as good as the 49ers defense is, and they did hold them for a while, you knew it was over. I mean, it's Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders, like Goddard. Like, you can't. Yeah. It's just, if you have no offense, and then that quarterback gets injured, and Purdy,
Josh Johnson. And let me tell you something. Josh Johnson has, and I'm not trying to bash the guy. He's got to be the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the NFL.
You know, I talked about that with some guys. How, like, as a backup,
he's got
like, there's got to be better backups than him.
I've never seen a guy who snaps the ball and runs 20 yards the wrong direction. Instead of scrambling out to the sides, he runs straight back.
How many teams went through 4 quarterbacks though in a year also?
That's very true. That's very true.
So unlucky.
Dude, Josh Johnson's played on 13 different teams, and this was his 3rd go-around with the 49ers.
Oh, my
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I tweeted out game over. The game was over.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what's funny is how many Eagles fans are going to look in themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? We wanted Jalen Hurts gone. We didn't like when they drafted him. We hated it. You know what? This guy has 38 total touchdowns. It's the 2nd most in franchise history. He rushed for 15 touchdowns for the Eagles. I think it's the 2nd most in franchise history. He's the youngest Eagles quarterback to ever go to a Super Bowl. And this guy, they were having plans next year to draft another quarterback because they thought this was going to be a shit year. But it was people like us. It was people like us that picked them to go to the Super Bowl.
The reporters asked him. Yeah, the reporters asked him, you know, how does it feel knowing, like, when you got drafted, like, your coach gets fired, you guys barely have a win. And he talked about, he was like, you know, I'm sure, like, before I got here, there was a lot of people that didn't even want me here. He goes, but look where we're at.
And why is it that Mike Trout's been to more freaking NFL playoff games than baseball playoff games? The best player in baseball, Mike Trout.
I love that you just threw that in there.
Yeah,
a big thing that's trending on Twitter and a lot of social media, and I didn't get to see live because I didn't watch a lot of the Bengals and Chiefs game, is officiating this year as a whole. They're saying that the officiating has just been so bad and just literally giving games away to these teams.
Well, that Devontae Smith catch on 4th and 3, that wasn't a catch.
That's not on the officiating though. That's not officiating.
But I'm just saying, this is exactly why we need another official upstairs, because we didn't get enough TV coverage of that catch until after they went fast snapped and they got the ball set off for a touchdown. They need somebody upstairs in the booth, especially for the playoffs, reviewing every freaking play. Every play. Yeah, they should just like when they bring the official out and he blocks the guy from snapping the ball. If there's a controversial play, they should do the same thing. You give them 5 seconds.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that play because that was everyone and their mother thought that was a catch until like that
was 4th and 3, man.
That's part of the game though. Where as a player, he's like, "Hey, hurry up," because I don't know if I caught that or not. And you got to take a leap of faith and challenge if you think he didn't call it. I don't mind that, but there's just been some questionable calls, especially rough in the passer. We thought that rough and passer all year long. The officiating this year is just referees need to be held responsible for the way they officiate games. I just believe that's how it should be.
What do you guys think about them giving the Chiefs an extra down, basically? Because remember
that one was big too. Yeah.
No. They didn't give them an extra down. If you watch the review of that, The official actually was running on the field, and he was blowing his whistle, waving his hands, but it was so loud in there, they already snapped the ball, let the play out. They show that official running. He actually is running on the field, waving his hands, and he's running to the head judge, the line judge, to let them know that clock started inadvertently.
Yeah,
That's why
but they played third down to get to fourth. Everyone gets off the field, and then they go back and replay third, though.
Yes, but if you watch the replay, before that ball's even snapped, that official's already waving his hands, blowing his whistle. He's the back judge. He's running in. They already snapped the ball, though. The play is going. But he continues to run back to the head linesman and say, look, that clock started before you were supposed to start.
Regardless, it's just weird that they let him replay all that, though. Like, you screwed up. You guys screwed up. Don't come back. The one play they did, there was another play where they, I think it was on a no catch 2 for the Chiefs Bengals game, where they, instead of having the Bengals throw the review flag, they're like, no, we're going to we just threw the headsets. Kind of like you said, this isn't a catch or whatever.
I picked the Chiefs on my bracket, so I think the officials got that right.
Plus, another thing, somebody brought up an interesting point. The Bengals, why do you kick it to them? Why do you even punt it back to them? Kick the ball out of bounds or something. Don't give them a chance to return it.
Let's be real.
Because they haven't done anything on offense.
But they had controversy in the Eagles game where the kicker kicked the ball and they said it hit the wire.
That's so hard to see, though. That's so hard to see.
And it took them 10 minutes for them to figure out that, hey, there's no evidence that it hit the wire. I mean,
they showed so many angles. I mean, how the heck are you supposed to see that wire?
I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to do like baseball, get rid of the umpire behind the plate and just have him stand there and say, okay, the computer's going to call balls and strikes?
They just need higher standards, I think, for the officiating. If the officiating is really bad, they need to do something. They need to fine them. I mean, you fine players $50,000 just for showing their ankles. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Also, I think what sucks for the Bengals is that late hit on Mahomes put them in field goal range. They were not in field goal range. That sucks. And then you have a player. Then you have a player, his own teammates screaming at him after the game. And then you have your linebacker, Micah Parsons, tweeting out and saying that is lame, man. I don't like. Why are you going to call your teammate out like that?
Well, you know what? He apologized and he did say it was the heat of the moment. And you know,
I'd be mad too, though.
His whole team supports him. You know, the interesting thing about that whole game is Cincinnati was going to be the first team in NFL history to go back-to-back years beating the number 1 and number 2 seeds on the road. So it didn't happen. It would have been nice, but you know what? At the end of the day, you know what just happened in front of all of our eyes? The next biggest rivalry in the AFC, right there. The biggest rivalry in the NFC or the AFC is going to be Kansas City, Cincinnati.
It's not the Bills. Yeah. It's not the Bills.
I'm just saying, yeah.
The
Bills got problems.
You know who the Bills remind me of? You know who the Bills remind me of? The Bills remind me of the Saints. Drew Brees' last 4 years of the Saints, how they were so good throughout the regular season, and then towards the end of the season playoffs, they were nowhere near.
Mark my running game. I mean, you can't rely on Allen to run the ball. Not to win you the game. He's effective, but he can't be your leading rusher.
You're absolutely right. They have no running game. Your quarterback, and we said this before, your quarterback cannot be your leading rusher. But you mark my words, I'm going to go on record right now. Kellen Moore's going to the Chargers. The Chargers are going to win that division next year.
With Justin Herbert?
No. With Herbert.
If the Chargers are healthy, let's put it like that. That means Keenan Allen and the other receivers, Mike Williams. Mike Williams. If they're healthy, the Chargers win a division next year.
Well, I saw a stat on Bleacher Report, and I wish I was able to see it, but it was like it showed Kellen Moore and the Dallas offense the past like 5 seasons, and how throughout those past 5 seasons they've been a top 5 offense all of those years. And the one year, I mean, Dallas had like 3 to 4 different quarterbacks. I mean, I talked to you about this, Dad. I think that Dallas did need to make a change, being so good every single year in the regular season and not doing anything in the playoffs. I just am intrigued to see how this one kind of plays out here.
It's going to be interesting because the Cowboys fired 7 coaches, counting Kellen Moore. They fired Rob Davis.
Here it is. I got it right here. So Kellen Moore calling plays for Dallas from 2019 to 2022. Points per game in 2019, they were 6th with 27. 2020, they were 17th with 24. All right. 2021, they were 1st. 2022, they were 4th. That 2020 year where they were ranked 17th, that's where they had 4 QBs in 16 games.
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting now because you know what? I just think it comes to the point where they had to make a change. And I think this is a Mike McCarthy thing. When coaches can feel the vibe of the room, and 12-5 seasons don't cut it anymore. You need to go and produce in the playoffs. And let's face it, Kellen Moore is on the chopping block for one reason. Mike McCarthy's trying to save his job. And now the pressure is actually on Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. If they don't go far in the playoffs next year, Mike McCarthy's gone. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Sean Payton, if he doesn't sign with any team this year, will be a Dallas Cowboy head coach next year.
That's a good observation.
Jerry Jones loves Sean Payton. Jerry Jones, but they fired 6 coaches. I was just reading them off: Rod Davis, George Edwards, which I don't like because George Edwards is the guy that worked with the linebackers. And I think our linebackers are amazing. They signed Leon Lett, who's a Cowboy legend, Skip Pete, Joe Philbin, our offensive line coach, which is huge, and then Kyle Valero, who's like
key. McCarthy was with Philbin in Green Bay. That name sounds familiar.
Yeah. So the thing is man, you have a lot of holes to fill now. You really do. You need your top 3 coaches on your team are your head coach, your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, and your offensive line coach. Those are your keys right there. And Dan Quinn's coming back, which is huge. So Dan Quinn, if they don't get Sean Payton, will be replacing Mike McCarthy after next year. I guarantee it.
Let me ask you guys
a lot of guarantees.
Let me ask you guys, since we're pretty much towards the end of the season, I want to read some stuff off, and I want you guys to tell me who you think your MVP this year is. I have 4 of them, but I'm really only going to read off 2 because I think it's just going to be these 2. Number 1 is obviously Patrick Mahomes, who had 5,614 passing yards this year, 41 touchdowns, right? Everyone said Tyreek Hill's gone. You're not going to have any great season just like you did with him. This is QBR and completion percentage with Tyreek Hill last year and this year, right? With Tyreek Hill, his QBR was a 70. This year was a 78. Completion percentage with Tyreek Hill was a 62%. Without him, it was a 67%. So clearly they didn't miss a stride. They continued upward. Kansas City, Mahomes looked great, and I do think he gets MVP over Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is number 2 here on this list. He's 24 years old, going to a Super Bowl. He starts the year off 13-1. 3rd ranked offense, 22 touchdowns, 3,701 passing yards. Hurts is the 4th player in NFL to have at least 150 rushing yards in a game and throw for at least 150 yards. He had a great MVP season, no doubt in my mind. The thing that is debatable here, why I think it's so close, is Hurts. You could say, those 2 games he didn't play. The Eagles will still be fine. They got such a great offense. They go 0-2. You know what I mean?
Hurts wasn't impressive in the playoffs. I'm sorry. And they had an easy road to the playoffs. I mean, they had a 49ers team that didn't have a freaking quarterback, and then they played the Giants, who had Daniel Jones.
They're saying that's why their coach might not even be in the finalists for Coach of the Year because of how easy their schedule was this year. But
they were 9-1. They were 9-1 against teams above 500.
One thing I want to mention about Josh Allen, he's 4th on this list, is he had 35 touchdowns and almost 5,000 passing yards. But he's the first player in NFL history to throw for at least 4,000 passing yards, 30-plus touchdowns or more, 700 rushing yards or more, 7 rushing touchdowns. First player to do that in NFL history.
Wow.
But so he played well. Burrow's 3rd on this list because, he went 12-4 after 0-2 start, 35 touchdowns, franchise best. The quarterback, the youth and the people that are out there. I mean, the generation that's here is great. It's going to be great to watch.
Patrick Mahomes is going to be the first quarterback in NFL history to win the regular season MVP and the Super Bowl MVP. It's going to happen this year.
That hasn't happened?
No. My thing is they got to stop doing this where the MVP is just for quarterbacks. I mean, it's always going to be. JJ had an amazing year. Devontae Adams had an amazing year. There's players out there who had great years, and you're screwing them because the NFL wants to promote quarterbacks and throwing for 5,000 yards.
I thought about this the one day, though. I agree with you, but then also at the same time, I think you take Mahomes out of those games, they're not winning those games. I mean, it shows you how important the QB position is. But I agree.
It isn't. You're right.
If you're gonna do that, there should at least be a best wide. Is there a best wide receiver award?
No, there's a
there should be
something. Rookie of the year,
offense player of the year.
But the thing is
positional.
the quarterback throws the ball, and I'm not saying his job's not hard. It is hard, but the receiver has to go against the defender to get that ball. And then he's got to work his butt off after he catches the ball, avoid getting hit to get yardage that makes the quarterback look good.
That's why it's a team effort, right? So it's kind of, I'm on the fence with you there. I don't know. I think that you should at least see some of these receivers that are especially Cooper Kupp last year. Like that to me was like, all right, this is definitely going to be the first time, he's going to win it.
Well,
and I said it last year in the podcast, if Cooper Kupp doesn't win MVP, you're never going to see a receiver win.
I think the MVP. Go ahead, Ace. Go ahead.
It's all pro. You'd rather get the all pro. Than
I'm about to say that. You read my mind.
Okay. Yeah.
The quarterbacks get the MVP. Everyone else gets all pro or second team voting.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
Nobody wants the all-star voting anymore now that they're not playing actual football.
Well, the NFL just came out.
The MVP also.
Absolutely.
I do too.
Absolutely.
I do too.
Have you ever seen anyone do something like he did? Let's face it. And I'm not a big fan of Mahomes. I mean, he's a good quarterback. They were going to their third Super Bowl in 5 years or something like that.
He's like the LeBron of the
5
NFL.
years in a row. But have you ever seen a guy who was injured and lost 3 of his starting receivers and still put on a performance like that?
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, that was the most impressive. The fact they won with a offense that was nothing outside of Kelce and maybe the number.
And Kelce has a back injury.
Their rookie running back's good too.
Yeah, Pacheco. I don't know how I'm shocked.
And Edwards-Helaire, that would be interesting.
Valdez-Scantling, whatever his name is too. He had the game of his life.
Yeah.
But the salary cap is going up to they said today $228 million. I think that's what the NFL salary cap is going to be next year. So the Cowboys right now are sitting at $7 million above. I think
Saints are negative $58 million.
$58 million below.
Hey, it was negative 70 last year, so we're getting somewhere.
And I'm not sure where Minnesota's at. I didn't really look at that. But
we're over it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Do you have any more awards, Ty?
No, that's all I have, honestly. I think Nick Bosa will get Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, absolutely. He deserves it.
And
he
then
really
JJ
does.
will probably get the offensive. I don't know who. Could Purdy get rookie offensive?
Purdy, I think he's in it now, but I think it's going to be Wilson from the Jets. I my whole season I thought it would be Chris Olave, but then he got hurt, and Wilson continued to play really well. So I think it's going to be Wilson from the Jets. They did say, by the way, Dax, I talked about this last week. You said, no way. They said a good trade destination for Aaron Rodgers would be the New York Jets with how like a good caliber defense they have, 2 good caliber running backs, the wide receivers they have.
But you're saying exactly what I said. They're saying, just like I said no, they're saying yes. It doesn't mean he's going to want to go to a team that has no chance of going
I'm not
to
saying
the
he's going to go. I'm just saying that wouldn't be a bad option.
Well, there is a rumor today that came out that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers have a mutual agreement to part ways in this coming off season. Yeah. The problem is he's guaranteed $60 million.
Yeah, they're at a crossroads right now, they said.
Yeah,
but they did say the franchise. They did say the franchise wants to move on now from him.
Weird.
Their words were just like they did from Brett Favre.
Look, if I'm him, I'm and this is just me. I'm either going to Tampa Bay or I'm going to the Raiders. Those are the 2 teams that stand out in my mind, that have good receivers there in place, something that Rodgers has never had. Those are 2 teams that have a great chance of winning their divisions.
Or New Orleans.
No, I don't know about New Orleans. You you have Michael Thomas, he only shows up depending on who the quarterback is.
Alvin Kamara.
But he just dealt with rookie receivers, so I'm sure you don't want to go there. But instantly better. I'm just saying, Rodgers going to Tampa Bay would be automatic. They're winning the division. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, it just is going to happen. They have Panthers. Such a good team down there.
He could go to any team in that division and they'd probably win it.
Yeah, man. Because that division right now, after Tom Brady leaves, that division is in my whole life, that division's been pretty decent. This division is like they're trying to find their coaches and their quarterbacks because everyone has retired or gotten traded.
But see, the most complete team to me, I mean, Frank Wright is coaching Carolina now, but the most complete team to me is Tampa Bay. I mean, they have a great defense. I mean, they're the number 2 run-stopping defense. I mean, they had a lot of injuries. I just think Aaron Rodgers there with all those weapons offensively.
The
Man,
Panthers get a quarterback, maybe, but they're not. I mean, if you get a rookie, you can't guarantee that.
I think all of those teams are, if they can find their quarterbacks,
yeah.
those teams are loaded.
Yeah.
and if I'm not mistaken, I think Tampa Bay is in the upper level of free agency money. I mean, I think they have a lot of like.
You know who's got the second most? The
I think they got
Falcons. Falcons have the second most.
cap space.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So it would be interesting. Like
Jimmy G and the Falcons.
Because Tom Brady's going to the 49ers, let's face it.
I don't, that'd be dumb. You know, I saw a video of Tom Brady in Miami looking at private schools for his kids. Don't know how old those videos were, but those are coming up right now.
Real quick, who's starting
Scoping
next
out
year for the
ties.
49ers? Jimmy G's gone. Trey Lance, he's getting
I
$9
think it
million
depends.
a year.
It
Listen,
depends on what
listen,
Brock
listen,
Purdy
listen.
is.
Trey Lance
Yeah.
is getting $9 million a year. Brock Purdy's only making $890-some thousand a year. Who's your starters, or is there a
Brock
competition?
Purdy, absolutely. I mean, they're
Yeah,
going to
'cause I
go
don't
in there and
know-
say there's a QB competition, but if Brock Purdy's healthy, you have a guy that just went 7-1, and he technically didn't even get that loss. He tore his elbow in the first drive of the game. You know what I mean? Like the offense was better with him, and it better than Jimmy G ever was. I mean, again, you haven't really gotten to see what Trey Lance has. I mean, what he played 3-4 games, but you can also see how the team reacted to Trey Lance versus Brock Purdy.
Trey Lance is a running quarterback. I think they should get rid of all of them. Like the shift in baseball, get rid of running quarterbacks. Make it that they can't run past the line of scrimmage.
You know, it'd be real
You
interesting.
got to
is
scramble till you find a receiver open.
It'd be real interesting if they traded Trey Lance, and they signed Tom Brady and had Brock Purdy sit a year underneath Tom Brady. I don't think they'll do that.
The thing
because
is,
Brock
they're-
Purdy is just good. I like Brock Purdy. If they're not
They
going
are
to use him, I'll
handcuffed.
take him.
But they're
No matter what
handcuffed with Lance, and if they
Yeah.
want any bit of value on him, they need to see him play more because I don't think teams are going to give him what they want.
I think
And
they
he-
keep
could
Lance
be
and Purdy.
screwed. Correct. I
Jim-
think they're screwed keeping Lance just because of the injury. Well, and same
Jimmy
with Purdy.
Jimmy G is going to the
But-
Saints.
Yeah, Jimmy G's.
Don't get
gone.
me. I honestly, at this point, I would take Jimmy G because I don't have a quarterback.
Look, it's a win-win for Tom Brady no matter
We're
what
not
he
even
chooses to
Niners
do.
fans. We're not even Niners fans, and the fact that Jimmy G comes up almost.
I
We
know.
talk about the Niners so much.
Yo,
Hey.
Jim, the fan base is calling for Tom Brady, and,
It's
and let's face
dumb.
it's a win-win
that
for
is
Tom
dumb.
Brady.
You just
If
got to
Tom
the NFC
Brady-
Championship 2 years in a row.
I know, but if his competitive edge is gone, if Tom Brady's competitive edge is gone, he has a TV contract for 10 years, like $37 million a year waiting for him.
I mean,
My thing with Brock Purdy is Brock Purdy could be just like Joe Burrow. This guy, at his rookie year, has taken you to the NFC Championship. You know, like I think they keep both those guys. They go into the year with a QB competition. If Brock Purdy's healthy, he's your guy. And I think they keep Lance in case Purdy gets injured, or they trade Lance before the trade deadline. There's no need to keep both. If Brock Purdy starts and say they're above 500, say they're 5-2 or
Then-
6-3, I think they trade Trey Lance. So like, you know what? We're gonna rock with Brock Purdy.
yeah, but
Yeah.
they're not going to trade Lance because of how much they gave up. They got to see him play before they get rid of him, or else they're just going to be screwed. You know what I'm like?
But you can't
No
just
matter
keep a
what
guy you traded
happens-
2 first-round picks for sitting on the bench, though. You got to get something out of it.
That's
even
what
if
I
it's
mean. Yeah, but if I guess whenever that happens,
I mean,
What's-
heck, Jordan Love's been sitting on the bench for 4 years, though. So
yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you guys want to see your teams do? What do you want to see the Saints and Minnesota do this offseason?
I just want a quarterback.
Not
That's
make
all I
it in
want.
the headlines. Stay out of the headlines.
I
Well,
would.
that's
we gotta
that's Dallas.
we gotta
That's Dallas's
restructure-
thing. We love
We got
the
to
headlines.
restructure Cousins. I want Cousins to retire the Viking. He's an accurate quarterback. We got a good
Trash.
defense. We got a good line. Problem is, I don't want to pay him 40 mil a year.
I don't think
Yeah.
Cousins is going to get you to the Super Bowl.
So, and that's the thing. It's like it's the same thing with Dak or with
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
frickin' who's the guy for Seattle? Like those guys,
Geno
you're
Smith.
gonna have
Geno.
to play. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay Geno. The Giants likely are gonna have to pay Jones. I'm not confident they're gonna win the Super Bowl either.
But the thing about
Other
Dak
than
is
that.
Dak is fully guaranteed $31 million next year. His dead cap hit is $49.13 million against the cap. That's the only one that has a larger cap hit with the quarterback is
Oh.
the Cleveland with $54 million for Deshaun Watson.
Ugh.
The Cowboys, they have to extend Dak. They have to extend out his contract, give him a signing bonus, and extend it. They'll free up $20+ million, put weapons around him. Because let's face it, we don't have a number 2 receiver right now. Gallup, who's coming off that
Mhm.
injury. Maybe you bring in Odell Beckham, or you bring T.Y. Hilton back for a full season. But if the Cowboys don't
I would talk about
sign
the Saints and
Dak and
Vikings
move it-
here.
we're talking about all three of them. But anyway, because he mentioned Dak. If the Cowboys don't do something with Dak's contract, I guarantee you, the 2024 years when the Cowboys can get out of Dak's contract, Dak won't be a Cowboy.
Yeah. Yep.
And McCarthy will be gone. And if the Cowboys draft a quarterback in this draft and they don't restructure Dak's deal, Dak's playing on the razor's edge.
The thing is, like, the Vikings have. I want a quarterback that's accurate, and we have it in Cousins. It's just
bring Cousins to Dallas. I'll take him.
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Oh, yeah, wow, you don't like
The
Cousins?
I think Cousins is a good stats guy. I do, and I have nothing against Cousins. I just look at Cousins, and there's many quarterbacks like this you could look at in the league. I just don't see, and I would hate if somebody was talking about my quarterback like this. Hey, so I'm sorry, but like I just don't think Cousins is a guy that's going to take you to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's 4th and 19. He throws a 3-yard pass. Like that's like that just shows you what Kirk Cousins is.
Look, if I'm the GM from Minnesota in the winter meetings, I'm talking to Roger Goodell and saying, don't schedule us for any primetime games and you'll go undefeated.
I mean, we would have gotten embarrassed we might have lost to the Niners, even with that Johnson guy playing. No joke. I wasn't confident that we could beat the Niners or the Eagles or the Cowboys. Anyway, so like losing to the Giants might have been the best thing for that team.
Here's what I want the Saints to do. The Saints are -15 cap, right? There's a couple moves they can already do right now to get them very close to that line. I want to see them cut Jameis Winston and get rid of him. There's no need to hold him on. I'd like to bring Andy Dalton back for a 1-year deal or something. You either cut Michael Thomas or you renegotiate his contract to keep him around on a very short deal. At the end of the day, we need a quarterback, and you don't have a lot of money, so you can't go get Lamar. You can't go get some of these guys that are free agents. So we're probably going to end up drafting some guy in the late 2nd-round pick unless one of these guys we're able to get money for him, like a Jimmy G or something. But I think that and it's sad to say this, but I think the Saints are going to be in this funk for like a year or 2 years where they're not going to find their true identity quarterback until something figures out, unless we draft a 2nd-round quarterback and it turns out to be like a Brock Purdy kind of guy. And it's sad because our defense is so good, but they're getting older, and we just don't have our next Drew Brees yet, and it's going to take time to find that.
I honestly think and Ace, before we get to you with the Vikings, I think the Saints, your coach Dennis Allen has the worst win percentage in that division. I think they got to make a decision. What do they want to do with him? Do you need a real coach to come in there, or do you want to just ride out with him again?
Well, I mean, it's not even him. I mean, his defensive abilities as a coach are great. I think our offensive coordinator, I mean, Pete Carmichael showed such inconsistency. I mean, towards the end, he started to find it, but that's what I'd really be looking at. All right, are we keeping Pete, or are we getting rid of him? Because you don't have a quarterback, so if you're going to get a new offensive coordinator, this is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
But I would like them to bring Andy Dalton back in case something doesn't work out, because you at least can see that he plays decently well in that system.
Vikings are going to get about $3 million in dead cap that'll be off the books next year, because of guys that like Kellen Moore, for instance, that they dropped or traded, whatever the case. I think we're also going to lose Adam Thielen. I think I mentioned this before. We're going to likely either restructure Thielen, Harrison Smith, Dalvin Cook. Oh God, Eric Kendricks is gone, but those other guys likely, if we restructure, could stay. I think Harrison Smith, Thielen, and Kendricks for sure are likely gone. There's a chance I'd like to keep Cook but he's also up and around the same contract as what Zeke has, which is a lot of money for a running back. So, but again, everything starts with the restructuring Cousins deal because he's going to command the most. So, and he's right underneath what's his name, Dak. He's 48 mil dead cap. So,
I just think these quarterbacks. I mean, especially Cousins, a lot of his contracts have been guaranteed. He's got enough money now to retire several times over again. It comes a time where even Dak, you got $66 million guaranteed. It's time for you got your money. Now let's start making some kind of progress to get you a Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, come on. Greed can only take you so far.
Yeah. The next man up, we've talked about this before again, but the next man up mentality with quarterbacks is nauseating. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's 3 or 4 guys that should get top dollar. Everyone else should be way below that.
What position do you want to see your guys draft?
I'd like a running back.
Defense.
I'd say quarterback and running back are 2 priorities for the Saints. I think you got a lot of young defensive guys. Then you got some good wide receiver weapons. But Kamara's probably can get suspended. Ingram's getting old. You don't really have a powerhouse running back. So I'm looking for that and looking for a quarterback.
How about this? What about after the draft, we do our own mock drafts of our teams? We put together who we think they should pick. And
if I'm not mistaken, the one mock draft I did see, they had the Saints taking, I think it was an edge, defensive edge guy, and they have Minnesota. They have Minnesota taking a corner
in the second round.
No, first round. And
we don't have a first round pick.
Well, whatever it was the mock draft. But they have Minnesota taking a cornerback, and they have the Dallas Cowboys taking the running back from Texas.
Oh,
see,
Robinson?
I'm not a big fan of that. What I need is I need another cornerback for Dallas's defense.
Yeah,
that's what I need.
Say that Vikings could go cornerback, middle line, or linebacker. We could go any position at defense. Honestly, I wouldn't be.
And I think if you need a receiver, if Thielen's gone, then you're gonna need a receiver. I think you can get one in the second round easily. Third round, fourth round.
Yeah.
Even
Receivers are a dime. Receivers are a dime a dozen anymore. I think you got to go defense. You got to go best defensive option available. I really do. And they actually have the Lions. They have the Lions taking that tight end from Notre Dame, the best tight end in college football. I'm telling you right now, the division's coming down to Minnesota and the Lions. I don't think the Bears are going to be. I don't think the Bears are going to be there yet.
Bears got a lot of picks this year.
They have a lot of picks, but you're going to depend on a lot of rookies then to carry your team, which I don't think is going to happen.
Hey,
I think
we saw it with Seattle.
I think Minnesota and the Lions will be fighting for that. I think if Aaron Rodgers leaves, I think the Packers are going to finish dead last. Mm-hmm. Really do.
You imagine Aaron Rodgers leaves and Jordan Love just takes off. Just like Aaron Rodgers did when Brett Favre retired.
Bye-bye.
Well, guys, that's all I have. If that's all you guys have.
Real quick, NBA. The Sixers right now are trailing Orlando 95-94 in the fourth quarter. The Lakers are trailing Brooklyn 58-46. Minnesota is up right now by 2 over Sacramento. Golden State is blowing out Oklahoma. The Sixers right now are one of the hottest teams in basketball right now. They're on a 20-4 win-to-loss rate over the last 24 games. Joel Embiid showed Denver exactly Joker is a Joker and that he is the true MVP as they blew out Denver on Saturday. It's starting to heat up. Pretty soon we're going to start talking about basketball because football is coming to an end. Real quick, do you guys want to do your Super Bowl projections?
Or should we wait until that? Mine, Eagles are going to kill them.
I don't know who to pick. I don't want either team. I don't want either team to win. I don't. But unfortunately, I do think the Chiefs are going to win.
If Mahomes gets healthy receivers,
don't read.
I don't know what that said. If they get healthy receivers, I think Kansas City wins.
Yeah, we'll.
I think the Eagles have the team to win, though. I think the Eagles do have the team to win the game.
Yep, absolutely.
I just don't want
to the receivers.
I don't know who I want to win, man.
The Chiefs' injuries are honestly too much, and I
don't live in PA anymore, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, no one down here even talks about the Eagles. I just got to look at it on Twitter and stuff from all the old people I used to follow.
I ain't gonna lie. If the Eagles win, I'm gonna be really salty. I got to deal with Ian, so don't want to deal with that.
Fair.
But
that's sickening.
That's why I got my baseball hat on. Baseball ready. Anyway, that's all I got.
Well, we hope you guys have enjoyed our nice hot predictions that we love to bring every single week. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Don't really use the Facebook much, but Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, hot spots. If you want to see a good Sunday rant against the Cowboys, you need to check out the Twitter because those fingers are moving faster than Zeke's legs. So we hope you all enjoy your week, and we will see you guys on the next podcast. Peace.